Yeah, just take a look at this Xbox right here. In this series of videos, we're going to go ahead and restore this Xbox back to its original glory, and we're going to add a couple of add-ons. So in this first video, we're going to do a full cap replacement on the main board, and then we're going to take a look at what's going on with the power supply and make sure all the caps are up to spec on that. Without further ado, let's begin. And it does look like someone's been inside of here. Let's go ahead and get our trusty iFixit kit. Go ahead and open this guy up. See how bad it is inside of here. The top isn't really doesn't instill much confidence at the moment. It's not too bad. We have 3 screws to remove inside of here. First one right here is next to the DVD drive, and the other one also is on the side of the DVD drive. And one right here under the IDE cable. I like to use pliers for the removal of the power on the hard drive. And this cable just slides right out this notch right here. And you can lift up the hard drive caddy. We will set that to the side. We've disconnected the signal cable from the DVD drive. We're going to disconnect the IDE cable. We can freely remove this drive now. Sounds pretty good inside, no rattling per se. Maybe this was taken care of. Go ahead and disconnect this cable and the IDE cable. Alright, power supply capacitors look to be in immaculate condition. Really nothing is leaking or bulging best I can tell, but that won't stop us from performing a full recap on this. So let's continue with removing these cables. With this one right here, you do have to press in while removing, and then the rest just slide out. You just need to wiggle them a little bit. You do want to be careful because you can break the plastic or pull out some of the wires. And last but not least, the fan connector. Okay, and we'll begin the process of removing all the screws so we can take the main board out of here. And one last screw. The console just slide right out. And now we're going to begin the process of desoldering all these capacitors and replacing them. We've chosen to use a capacitor kit from Console 5. And this, of course, is a version 1.6 Xbox and has the Samsung RAMs. It's not the B, as the version B would have the supposed lower end RAMs. Now, I would have liked to have done a full recap. Apparently the 10UF 16 volts aren't supplied in this kit. I'm guessing that's because they really don't fail all that often. So let's begin by getting our desoldering gun heated up and ready to go. Let's begin by desoldering these, which will be the 3300 UF, 6.3 volts. And here's how I like to do it. So I will start with this side right here, just kind of wiggle it around. And you see how, I don't know if you can see that on video, but it does pull through. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit for you. So that's what happens. And we'll do the other side. And there we are. Just like pulling a tooth out. Now to do that 4 more times. Now that one came right out of there. It's definitely important to make sure the holes are clean. Alright, we'll go ahead and discard these. Now we have our replacements. So your negative is on the top, which is designated by the white band here and on the capacitor. Now some of the solder holes may not have cleared all the way, but that's fine. It went right through. We'll just bend the legs. And you'll want to repeat the process with the remaining 4. Now if it ever gives you too many difficulties, what you can do, and I usually don't advise this, but it does help out quite a bit, you can use one of these dental tools or some kind of pick-like tool. It's called a reamer, and it comes in a kit made by Pros Kit, and you can just kind of stick that in there a little bit to wiggle it around. You don't want to overdo it because you can ruin the trace or the via. I've seen a lot of old school techs do this, and they swear by this method. And look at that, it just went right in there. And now our final one. I'm not going to solder these in yet. I'm going to continue with the remainder of the caps before we press on to soldering. Okay, next will be the 1500 6.3 volt caps. We have one here at the top next to the CPU. Once again, I just wiggle it like that and it's loose. Now you definitely have to be careful when you're doing this, because if there are some traces nearby and you have your heat a little too high, you will damage your traces, and you definitely don't want to do that. So that's one down, and we have 2 more to go. those are all removed. Let's make sure that the holes are free and clear. These right here are looking pretty good. And that one's looking great. And then now we have the CPU one, which this one also isn't in the worst of condition. Trim that out a tad. They are free and clear. Let's go ahead and place our new capacitors in there. Alright, next on the list is going to be these three. So 25 volt, 100 UF caps right here. And they'll be the larger ones on the board. So it's not these two. It's this one, and I think right over there. And what you can do to aid yourself in the event that the desoldering gun doesn't clear up the hole very well is you can add some solder. And now it is clean. And we have two more of these caps. So the next one is right over here. And our final one right over here. And just like last time, you want to make sure you're paying attention to polarity. And now we have this one. And our final one. There we go. Next up are the smaller ones here, which are the last of our through holes. Let's go ahead and desolder these guys. These smaller ones are pretty easy to remove. Maybe I spoke a little too soon for that last one. Yeah, I guess this one's going to be a little difficult to get out of there. And we have a couple more. Getting through some pretty tough spots with some of these. Alright, I think we have one more cap right over here. And you'll find that it's usually the ground plane that causes you difficulties. I think in this case, for this one though, that is not the case. Let's go ahead and get these caps placed. Alright, so all of our through-hole capacitors are installed. You might be wondering why I haven't done anything with the clock cap. Well, let's take a look. So we have in our possession here an ESR meter, so this will check out the capacitance. Well, I guess it would check the ESR. Yeah, that's what it is. So we're going to use that on the clock cap here. So we'll go ahead and remove that and this other side as well. So there we are. And for you folks at home, we'll go ahead and use some desoldering wick. Alright, so the holes are free and clear. We're going to go ahead and now see what this ESR meter will tell us. Is the capacitor bad or is it good? Let's find out. It says it's leaky. So we're either going to have to replace this thing or put something in its place. Alright, so it did say that this is leaky. In one of our later videos, we'll go ahead and replace this while we're doing some kind of other mod or upgrade to this board. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and solder it back because the 1.6 will not function without the clock capacitor being connected. Let's go ahead and clean up the mess that we just created. Alright, now let's go ahead and begin by soldering all of these legs for the capacitors. Go ahead and get our vacuum going. And I'm going to add a little bit of flux to every single solder point for these capacitors, just a tiny bit. Alright, and now we're ready to begin the soldering marathon. So we're going to go ahead and cut off all the legs. We're going to go ahead and brush them down, make sure that we don't have any stray solder anywhere. At least the back of the board will look in an immaculate condition, unlike the front of the board. We're going to wipe off this alcohol with some Chemtech Chem Wipes, and we'll do the same to the board here. Just want to pat it down. And we'll do one final look over before we do anything else. Make sure everything looks like it's soldered in correctly. The capacitor replacement has been completed, so let's go ahead and put it back in the Xbox and see how it performs. Yep, boot it up. We've successfully completed the recapping on the main board of this Xbox console. We didn't do the clock cap, but next time we will. So in our next video, we're going to be installing the Aladdin XT Plus 2, but we're not only going to be doing that, we're going to be installing some RAM. So this console is going to be upgraded to 128 MB. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the content, please remember to leave us a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.